Big for this one.
Okay, good morning. Huh? Okay, good morning. Huh? Hopefully, they any questions you have? Any questions you have? Anything we discussed yesterday? English.
Usually cover the done the current effect size.
No, the one
All the data, all the data. G power.
we have another.
Don't slide there.
No other question. No other question. Next we will look at an issue called theory. This is, I think, a big problem in Malaysia. A lot of people don't actually understand what is the theory. So when you do your PhD, first thing they will ask what is your contribution to the theory, right? So we have a term called contribution to the theory and contribution of the theory, which is the one that you have listening problem, right? Contribution of the theory or contribution to the theory. Which one are you doing? Okay. You're actually doing contribution of the theory, because you are just using the theory to explain it. Contribution to the theory is you are changing the theory. Changing the theory. So the two different things. I didn't have a good understanding of this. Since I attended the workshop, many people only do contribution of the theory. You are using a theory to explain the concept, but you add some because of your novel requirement for novel. But you are not changing the theory in a very I mean, say, you theory of land, right? The developer himself changed it. It's a true theory. They actually using the theory to explain. We added some developer because we need contribution theory. You're still using changing the theory in a substantial way, right? That's what we do.
So is
Theoretical framework is theory. Conceptual framework is your one.
yeah, so it is your that's a contribution to
Contribution of. You're still using the theory to explain the phenomenon. Not changing the theory in very different. Like contribution to theory is like Venkatesh, but it was he took 8 theories, he integrated them, he came out with a that's what contribution to theory. Change the theory in a substantial. They are not doing that. I thought we are doing contribution to theory also. So because we are all part by the same people, right?
That is prior writing that people are doing, for instance, using it. And they never
I really understand that. Once you meet a person, I don't think you understand where we are. And you see it and explain and explain. You look at him, what did you are? It's up to that level. The way he explains very, very difficult. That's why I'm suggesting you to attend workshop with this kind of. You can see the command of their subject. They are really, really very good. Actually explain. Anything you ask, we can explain in a simpler way. That's what I like about them. So that's one of the things I talked about in the last workshop. You don't have any friends in Monaco? Sunday. Be nice to them. Nice to them, they will be like, with them. They will have a document. You get it from them for free. But in this year, they will charge us because they pay for the fees and all that. And they explain many good reasons. Let me tell you. They are now recruiting all research in Sunday. So one place you are doing very smart. If you have to learn systematic literature review, that's a guy lah. Okay, next we will look at this issue for theory. Yeah? I think this part is important for quantitative research because usually you start with the theory. Yeah? And then every time you go for a proposal defense, the question is what is your underpinning theory? Underpinning theory. So that is the first thing they will ask. Because when doing quantitative research, you begin with the theory. At the end, you explain whether the theory supported or not. Okay? And many people don't have a good understanding of what is the theory. Yeah? The theory is at this level, right? At a concept level. Theory only does this concept into this concept. We need to bring this concept to a tractable level. That is called the empirical level. Your model is ideal. Conception. This is theoretical. This is theoretical. And then because of that, you have measurements, right? Once you have the measurement, then only we will use tools like SPSS and more. Okay. The SPSS and more realize only works here, not here. Sometimes after you buy your data, model doesn't work very well. It is not because of the theory problem, maybe because of data problem, your sampling problem, your science problem. Those are things that happen at this level. Okay. So this is a paper by the read on which the model is theoretical rigor. What we are saying now is you have very good methodological rigor, but you package it around this. And I see this a lot. They use wrong theory at different level. The theory is for individual level, they use for organization. And the theory explains a different context, but it is for a different context. Those are problematic issues you need to understand. We have said first need to invest not just in empirical result, but also in theoretical result. So in lecture, they will become a good state at this level because everybody now knows structural equation modeling. And using structural equation modeling will get you right? Yes. Every time I do workshop for structural equation modeling, I do workshop for smart PLF or SPSS, nobody has. SPSS or research method is very big. But the more important one is your research method, right? And then you need to understand how to clean your data, prepare your data. Then only structural equation modeling comes useful.
Some of them they don't know aspirations.
Got like that. This is the basic problem. I see the younger one, the older one, because they are already trained with SPSS. many years ago, because see only SPSS. So you like it or not, you right? You're already familiar with SPSS. Now you're migrating. Still okay, yeah? The problem with software is they cannot do data entry. You know? They cannot do data entry. Yeah? Smart sellers cannot do data entry. Emos cannot do data entry. And plus cannot do data entry. Yeah? Cannot do cleaning. Cannot do screening. Cannot do anything. No error you will. That's the only thing you can do with SCM software. The first part where you prepare the data, clean the data, screen the data, you still have to do with other software, like SPSS or Excel. Still need to have that command. So it's still important. For example, say you run your model, you find your model didn't work very well. We might have a problem called outliers. You know, you still have to go back to SPSS. Yeah? But else cannot help you with outliers. What you do is you take the data that already run in SmartValor. We can export to SPSS, run the outlier analysis in regression. We remove some outliers, these are working. These are working. Yes? I have a PhD student from China. She paid some money to Wenchuan to collect data. After collecting the data, she had problem with the model. So I had to screen the data, remove a lot of outliers, then only the result became better. Those are the things you need to understand before you start collecting the data. Not necessary. Not necessary after you collect data done. Many people are very fixated with that. Collect data first, then once the data come in, already everything done. There are also lots of text about we need to know that. Okay, so this is the very simple explanation of a theory. Yeah? A theory is a set of interrelated concepts, definitions, and positions that present a systematic view of phenomena by specifying relations among variables. With the purpose of explaining, these are two reasons why we use theory, to explain and to predict. And you see here, there's a term called phenomena. Phenomena. This is your dependent variable. Okay, so your theories are all driven by your dependent variable. So that's why I will tell what is your dependent variable. Then look at the theories others can use to explain the same phenomenon. Then you already have a long list, right? You have to pick one theory. Then only you can decide on what you can add to them. That's how I work with my students. Or else very difficult. You need to start with the theory. Yeah. Okay, so here they have three component X. Define an interrelated concept. Not one concept. Interrelated. And then it establishes the interrelations. And it explains which variables are related to which variables. And one is why. So this is how you can. There are four building blocks to a theory. Four building blocks to a theory. The first one is called what. What is this boxes? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All these boxes, they are called the what. The theory tells you what are the variables in the theory. The second component is how. The how is the variable. Which variable is to which variable, right? How do you the theory? Yeah. Not the theory. Theory. Theory tells you which variable is to which variable. Okay? Not the literature. Literature is to test on it. Remember, theories are developed first, then only test. Okay? So the literature comes after. Okay? The third one is your who, where, and when. These are what we call as boundary conditions. For this theory, they have this boundary condition. This model will work differently for male and female, for people more experienced, less experienced. These are called boundary conditions, modulators. Okay. And the most important one is this one, why. They will tell you why this variable leads to this variable. Why this variable leads to this variable. The theory explains, giving you a reason. Okay, so that's why we did the one. Yeah. Okay, this theory is called theory TAUT. Yeah. They have a variable called performance expectancy. Yeah. This is the label. But this is the same variable as perceived usefulness in a theory called technology accepted model. If you are doing research, you should know this by. We had a DA student who presented. Originally, she used perceived usefulness, and then she changed to performance expectancy. Yeah? And then the internal examiner, who's not from technology, yeah? I don't know why he became internal. They will say there's some ethical problem. She collected data, now she's changing the variable. I said, hello, the variable is still the same. Only the label changes. It is still measuring the same thing. Since I'm in technology, I understand. For him, he said, oh, earlier you said perceived usefulness. Now you say performance expectancy. That's ethical. You didn't collect data. So I said, go and do your homework. I told the internet. Since I was a supervisor, what will happen if the supervisor doesn't defend? This is a big problem. No? So that's why we need to understand. No? This effort expectancy is the same as perceived ease of use. We have another term, complexity. In a theory called DOI, complexity is the same as this one. So the same variable is labeled differently in different theory. So you need to understand the context of the variable. So this is how the models are. And again, the models are developed based on a boundary condition. This model can be used for this situation. This model can be used for this situation. But what is happening now? Everybody is using the same model for everything. Like this theory, yeah, it was developed for technology adoption. Now shopping online also they use it now. Internet banking they use it. Oh my God, lah. That's all I can say. Yeah, doesn't make sense, right? The original developer told you to do this. If you're doing technology adoption at work, you use this theory. If you want to use theory technologies which are enjoyable, he developed another theory called PAUT2. That is where there's a component of enjoyment. So that's something you need to understand. Many people don't have this understanding at all, including your beloved supervisor. Many of your beloved supervisors. Anything theory, okay. It is not. No? So that's why we need to look at the literature in our area, summarize them, see what they look at, what theory they use. That's the first part of the theory. Yeah? Okay. And what happens is after you have the theory, you start adding some variable, right? So here it tells you that just simply adding or subtracting factors is not sufficient. You need to explain why those factors are important. How does the factor change your relation? So this is more important. And we also have people taking the theory and then they drop variables. You see that? Me and my supervisor decided to drop this variable. Why? Because we decided.
From theory, say, so but the proposal has another somewhere.
Same variable. You do this variable and then you do it in relation, right? It is called a replicate. You don't get a PhD for replication. If that's the case, you can do it in 2 weeks. Then use this theory, collect data and then today it's enough, 2-3 days later online you get 200, and then right, and then 1 week later you submit. Then you get a PhD, right? It doesn't work like that. No? Replication you can publish as a paper, but not for a PhD. For a PhD, yeah? You spend 1 day of your life thinking for literature. Huh? I always ask this in my workshop. Huh? Why don't you do literature? Huh? Because my supervisor suggests. Because all my seniors do. Oh. Everybody else like that. Right? Yeah. Yeah, like ECM, UTA, many, they will tell you these variables are from this theory, these variables are from this theory. And in the folder I given you some. I don't remember in fact, but there are many. But they will highlight which part is this theory, which part is another theory. That is saying I'm merging these two theories there.
This question is theory. The sleep is of it. And that's one. Yes.
Qualitative is the same we don't have the variables yet. We want to identify the variable. Then you do qualitative. Quantitative, we are saying we already have a theory to explain the phenomenon. But we want to add some variable because the explanatory power is 20%. By adding some variable, we can increase the explanatory. This variable still remains. Therefore, this one. Okay, so this is a three. Yeah. This is useful, and this is helpful. Where you can use the theory from. Where you can use the theory. Well, okay, one time is it reduces the rate of when it reduces the rate of effect. If you're using technology model, they already have three variables, right? Ease of use, usefulness, and intention. Already three of them. Then you can add any values. But you must begin with it. Okay. The summarizers one is already known for the object of the. So if you are already decided you want to use technology as a model, you need to review others who use this theory, what variable they have used. Then you can see what variable has already been done. Then only you can say, I have a new variable, I'm adding that. That's what the power. That's why we do review the little before we finalize. Okay. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Then find
That's why they say move away from them. I already told you. I was using technology accepted model 25 years ago. Just Google search my name, I will get constant English using that. I stopped using them a long time. It was very difficult to find contribution. Many journalists don't want to look at the theory of time anymore. The comment is another paper in time. I have to handle it. Same also. Same also. I was doing this 25 years ago. You can see the variation that I have done.
Okay,
But fortunately, our training is not so good. Qualitative, right? Not many people do qualitative. I cannot name anybody who is really good in qualitative information. Yeah. Yeah, you know anybody? Huh? That depends on how you tell it. In my department, also, we have people who say I'm a qualitative expert. Huh? I ask them, can you show me one paper you have written in a good journal? In area, then they become very qualitative. Expertise has already gone. That's how you can say you're an expert. You're an expert, you must be able to publish a good decent paper in a good journal in a day. You can say, okay, I've done this, right? So I'm actually at that level. Like I was telling you, this guy Don, right? From US. He has published at that level. So when I'm good in this matter, I have no problem with him. Same with background, right? He's now considered one of the experts in systematic history. He has papers in some of the top journals in the world. So nobody will say, I don't think so. So that's how we look at the person. But in quantitative, there are many of them. People who are really good in quantitative. different areas. Right? We have one area in QCM, right? There's a guy called Gary, another guy called Haywood. They have a content. Right? The whole get, right? Right? And it's content. Yeah, that also, right? But we know this was people, right? They're actually writing very good papers in there. Okay? So that is why it is not very easy. Qualitative also is a big area of this, right? Some people only know interview and then write. This person say this person say that person say that finish. And then, so what? I see that also. Yesterday I was looking at a paper. They have one variable and then they say this person say this, then that's it. Another variable, this person say this. We call it interview. But it's not this variable. But I see that. So I'm not an expert in qualitative, so I won't say anything about it. But quantitative I can see. So although we have that, I'll show you a slide. This editor of a journal called Information System. He said you should move away from the familiar theory. Very difficult to contribute to familiar theory. That's what he said. You do this, right? So you can do this. This will guide you one other variables for the study. What variable you can add to the table. Yes, under that one.
I just want to control that. It used to yes. They used it.
No. So not to misunderstanding. Many people have this misunderstanding. Theory is developed based on a collection of variables, not one variable to variable.
Like what's this? You're just talking about G, G, right? So is that important percent or possibility that other
Later I show you from the development of the theory. What you mentioned. You know, the institute professor who developed it. I spent 7-8 years to develop the theory. We got the variables. For some reason, I don't find. Yeah. You have to use the theory. You already have to use variables. It's only these two variables. Or sometimes they have only intention. They say I'm using PB because I intention. PB is not intention. PB is three variable plus intention.
So in this case here, the issues the performance actually behavioral intention, not just the also.
Not that all. Also, the theory was developed because they were studying technology adoption network, right? These variables are important for the business.
It is the initiative of the organization.
There's a site, there's a suggestion by the chief editor of information system research. Like if you have to study now, technology adoption, right? Now we are going online. They are now using a theory called media rich theory from communication. We have a theory called user gratification theory from communication. And now we are borrowing into technology adoption. That is what is happening. I'm using familiarity. So like this, this is the systematic review algorithm. So what they have done is they have identified the theories used for this area. You see the number one is there. Many people like this theory because it's very simple. Three independent methods. The model looks very simple, right? And there's lots of theory, lots of literature to start with. That's why people like to use it. So there are other theories that they can look at, depending on the research problem we are addressing. Like if we are looking at community engagement, we have social exchange theory. So you need to decide based on that. You already have a picture of what are the theories which are very popular that area from systematic literature. So this is a theory called theory of engagement. Originally, this theory was called theory of reason action. attitudes and then inform and invent. That was the original theory in 1980. Yeah? If you take out this variable, and you take out this variable, it became behavioral theory in 1975. The original theory was attitude is to invent. In 1980, they added this. 1991, they added this. In 1980, when they developed this theory, they were saying all your behavior is under your full control. So what they realized that not all behavior is under your full control. You need another variable which is not control. Okay? Because in organization, they change the system. You have a choice. You have no choice. You like it or not, you need to. That's where they have this variable in 1991. So that's how the theory also changes. You can say you are doing, you know this. It's fun. I don't know. Fun there you have to do qualitative.
Construct is probably but developer is expensive.
Here you have some. You have to edit from qualitative. That is, and then there's another component called motivation compliance. The belief times motivation, right? It becomes this variable quality. You don't measure attitude directly, but currently you measure everything directly. That's a change. You will think that it's not here you have to do qualitative, it's qualitative. Belief. Because you're studying different behavior. Different behavior have different beliefs. Different subjective norm, different. So you need to come up with this first before you can measure. But now the current literature everybody is measuring attitude directly with 3 or 4 items. And then was a change. Although the original theory had effect, now we see nobody is doing it. We have always measured directly. So this 3 variable is to this variable, this variable is to this. This was the theory developed in 1991. Then in 2006 it changed. Instead of that arrow going here, now the arrow goes here. This is 2006. And then in 2019 it says, this arrow goes here, go here. It's now moderation. The person who developed the theory already changed his mind. So he said maybe about some 20 years ago. Now I'm trying to correct. So this is the latest theory. Still people are using the old theory. I haven't seen it. Just Google search to get it. And this picture is copyright. Still copyright, right? Let the lawyer. Copyright, copyright. You need to ask permission from the publisher, but we don't do that. We just copy and paste, right? I also want to do this. Oh, yes. Then now some visitor from you, you get into trouble. So now I don't show. I say, okay, read this paper. I don't show the drawing. That's a change, because we are so little we can. Okay. So just now when you look at this theory, right? This theory is one box. Boxes are already given to you, right? Not all theories will be like. Okay, some theory don't give you box at all. Some theory only give you the main boxes, but you need to fix the variable inside the box. So this is a very fixed theory. Yeah, you have to do this. You must have this variable. 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't have this defined, but you must have this all this. Either or. Okay, they have this theory called technology organization environment framework. What this theory tells you is three components T, O, and E. T, O, and E. Yeah. What goes under T, what goes under O, and E. You can decide. But you must have T, you must have O, you must have E. One variable here, one variable here, one variable here, still okay. You can have 3, 3, 3, 5, whatever combination. But you must have that 3 boxes before you adopt any condition. This is quite open, more open. More open. Here, we have 3 here, and 3 here, and 3 here. Okay. The variables are here. Okay. Technology is not a variable. Technology is only a label. When you write your literature, you're saying, I have technology variable 1, 2, 3. Organization variable 1, 2, 3. Environment variable 1, 2, 3. These are the variables that you are actually measuring in your assessment, not the TOE. Okay. Right? We have here 3, 3, and 3. Right? Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, and 5. Yeah, all the same here. Okay. They are not available here, right? It is a moderator. Okay. Still, we go here. They don't have an addition theory, one theory. But they added a moderator. The theory is the same TOE. Combination of variables now. Combination of variables now. Okay. Now we have a theory called resource-based view. Resource-based view don't have variable at all. They don't give you the variable. They only define the variable. They say resources. Resources of category. There are these 4 characteristics. They must be variables. They must be rare, costly to imitate and organize. Capture value. Those are the 4 characteristics of a resource of capability. How you define, how you measure is up. Very open. It tells you resources lead to capability, capability leads to competitive development. Okay? This is one combination. See here we have 5 resources, and we have 3 capabilities and 1 competitive advantage. This is also using RPV. Okay?
From the RPV, then people and but motor is the only intangible, but no tangible is fine.
No, they only talk resources, capability, and competitive advantage. But study only intangible, right? Still resources.
No tangible part, but oh, tangible because just now you go back to the slide. Then under that is tangible.
Yeah, what I say is, it's not going to rely on these 2 resources.
Yeah.
I want to study this on the software. I want to study this on software. It's still resources. Resources will lead to capability, capability will lead to competitive. That's the flow. What is the resources you have to define first? Similarly, we have a theory called stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory. Stakeholder theory, you have to define the stakeholder first. Then only you can measure. They are not fixed. They are not fixed. Different industry will have different stakeholders.
From normally RPV should combine with scientific capability. So how do you combine it together?
Okay, so that's why the reading is important. Resource-based view is long-term. Dynamic capacity is short-term. Short-term. You want to react to certain environmental factors, right? That's why we have dynamic capacity. So you decide which one you have to look at. So this is the we have this resources capacity like this. We have 5 here and 3 and 1. We can also have 4, 3, and 1. These are combination of variables not the same, right? They're still using the same theory. They are using the same, yeah. It's how you frame them. People they interlate both. But the distinction is dynamic capability is for short term. You want to react to some changes in the environment. Short term.
But then define the process or the intangible is the internal resources they define as the RPV for user.
No, intangible can also be external, like relationship, right? With the supplier. How you define the intangible is like not very easily measurable, like your human capital, how much resources there. That can be easily measured, but basically very difficult to be measured. It becomes intangible.
Just like you mentioned about the sponsor and what the error. But the circle. The circle is yeah.
This is safe like also. But the thing is, like you draw like this and say you don't measure this. Okay. This next one also, this one I control them. It's a software where you start drawing, right? We have a term called latent variable and measured variable. Latent variable is wherever you don't measure directly. Measured variable is the actual item lost in a way. Yesterday I showed you the drawing. Have your commitment, but you measure commitment weekly item, right? Commitment is a latent variable. You don't measure that. Here, what is the case? We want to measure export performance, but we measure export performance in three dimensions. Financial performance, effectiveness, and satisfaction. Here, what item? Items we get it.
So there's.
This one is normal here. The comment because I'm
It's covered.
The second one is like this, or like this.
Why to change?
But now we also have a newer figures later. I can show you this market. It's a real option. So you can change. So this is not important. What is saying is usually when we draw it, the number 2 we use yeah, that is right. I usually don't show this. And this the model is this variable is to this variable to this variable. This actually I mentioned the measure. The problem is if you show this, many of the examiners will ask where is the hypothesis for this. Here, so hypothesis. Yeah, hypothesis. Here don't have hypothesis. Then the examiner will ask. How come here you have no hypothesis? Then why? We did actually measurement. We discussed in chapter number 3. These are the 3 dimensions to measure this variable. I want to catch something to here, not to the left. Okay, sure. So here we have control variable. This is defined also.
If you override levels. I think I'm not very understood that this is actually good using
From the supply. Even in school you graduated. Have a this is one from China. I told him, don't put the dimension. It looks very complicated. So he put the dimension. And then the examiner asked him, how come you don't have hypothesis for this kind of that? And then he was staring at the examiner and smiling.
From that means second order
No, actually, your variable is this. This is your variable. So this measure is variable. So this can't be separately, yeah. Your variable is only common. When you discount X for common. Not this. Not this, yeah. So
in chapter 3 only talk about second order for the higher.
no. In chapter 3 we have a called measurement. We discuss X for performance, we got 3 dimensions. Okay. Measurement. Then in the analysis, we talk about hierarchical components because we are doing second order.
Under the issue,
Instrument development, you know, what is the X for performance got 3 dimensions. That is instrument development. But when you do testing, what you have to explain how you are doing second order. reflective or reflective positive, then the analysis part. There are two parts, right? The instrument is the item to measure the error. If you have multi-dimension, you say dimension 1 go 5 items, dimension 2 go for 4 items, dimension 3 go 3 items. It will explain the measurement. But in the analysis section, you say, okay, I have this error, but I'm going to do second order. Reflective or reflective form. Because we don't have that email, was all reflective, but now we have reflective form. So you have to explain in another section, in chapter 3.
So in the stage, usually it's not anything, but actually
Still having qualitative. You say quantitative response or not.
so there is and I have one thing.
Asking me about combining theories, right? See here. There are three theories here. This one, right? It's called technology experimental model. This variable here is TRA, theory of reason action. Three here, technology, theory of time behavior. Three theories they combine together. It's called combined time theory. So, guess you combine, right? Three theories, they combine into one. And they do that, one to explain behavior and that's all. So it is also like you can but you have to take the variables from the data. Cannot just pick the variable. I see it a lot. They take one variable from some theory and they say, I'm integrating the theory. This one variable is not a theory. Yeah? Your theory is not a theory.
Muslims.
And that's what we do. Originally, it's under the data. When it's anything block that, block that. But these two are TRA, these three is TPV. So we are now combining TPV and TRA in one model. Okay, so. Now you see people that this variable theory A, this variable theory B, this variable theory C. You understand? One variable. One variable is not a theory. Combination of variables. Combination of variables. So I saw it. Most of your variables come from one theory. You can use that theory to start with. Then you add some variable from the results. Okay. So this is another theory available in marketing, right? This theory doesn't tell you what is the variable. You see? It only tells singular six organism is response. One is variables, one is organism, one is response. You have to decide based on your confidence of your study. Yeah. Okay. Similarly, here we have a symptom theory, input, process, output, right? What is input, what is process, what is output, you have to decide. Huh? And then only we can start collecting data. So here we have an example, right? One variable here, and one variable here. This is actually using SOR. Here we have one variable in 5 dimensions, then 3 variables under organism, and one variable under response. Okay, it's still using the same theory. Combination of variables is not the same. Okay, but the flow is still the same, right? S leads to O leads to R. Okay, then the O must be something that changes. I saw a recent thesis of USM also. I don't know how the person passed. The O is actually word of mouth. No? I don't think so. Word of mouth is O. Word of mouth would be company. Right? That's why you people. That's after not the O is the engagement. trust. This is what is related to emotion. Organism is related to it. So they only tell you the flow, but what is available you need to decide. And that's why you need to look at the literature, what people have studied. This is another observation. This is the one that are not the same. This one must go well with it. Okay. I really started looking at it. I realized that theory. That's so well. Okay, factor, fail and out. They only can use factor, fail, fail into out. If you use theory like this, you get combination, right? Because it tells you it is to be, it is. Yes. One I know. Then it's not bad. This variable is called technostress. Technostress. During the pandemic. Overnight, this is stress, right? Time when I go to study, I take my laptop back, go to the class, open that suddenly I set up the WebEx. Then WebEx off, then microphone doesn't work, webcam doesn't work. Then freezing. The problem is the internet not mine. We had that problem. I was a technician also. I only have they didn't provide any equipment. I had to buy a lot of microphones from the bank. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, finally I okay, this is the only the okay one. And then I the webcam. There was a webcam, this AI. When you walk, it will follow you. So why it doesn't follow?
There's no time.
Huh?
The technology has to model
No, no. Maybe not. It's a bit cheaper, not so expensive one. We have expensive one that can follow. They have a invest that they follow you. But we don't have that kind of resource. Right? And then finally, there's a Logitech i3 very good man. Center with them. It's not bad for that. And then I think I think the last couple of results. Many they couldn't cope with the online. So now we have Blender. We have to do a lot of things. Those days I don't after the exam only okay. To fill up the OPT, CRO. Then I fill up anything also my student called very good. Good, no? And I'm just like, you are okay. So now a lot the older lecturers are retiring, but they're taking retirement because they take too much of this finding paperwork. Sometimes when they go to class, finish exam, marking finish. Very happy. I didn't have a teaching file for 30 years. I never had a teaching file. Then one day they say, where's your teaching file? What do you mean by all the slides, everything free in a computer, right? Now every semester I have to do a teaching. Last time I never do anything, but it's all very good. Now you even have to tell them stack will cover which stack. What will be covered? It's okay. This this sector cover here. What is that? So it was a bit stressful beginning of the time. After that, we only have some temple, right? So we follow. So this was the name of Temple thing. Okay. So this is the paper published in a Web of Science Journal. And you see here, the present value was unified theory of method and use of technology, AUP, which is an invention of AUT. But here it says that the theory is applicable when the research is analyze the effect of trust on SDM. This theory doesn't talk about trust and GSPM. Okay. He actually wrote it on his own, but still got it published in a website from a country called Jordan. So your literature coming from Jordan, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, you need to be very careful. Right? You need to be very careful. They don't care. They just push the paper. If they're lucky, they get a review who don't know. And like that. If you see the theory, UTA, is like it. This is UTA, None of the variables are in the model. I find nobody failed earlier. And we went to review and two reviewers mark and the associate editor part. I don't understand. None of these variables are there. This is too good. Nobody uses it too big. Very few people who use. But there are many variables. Remember? Okay. And you see here they use one more variable here. Another variable moderator in the original theory or voluntariness. What they remove voluntariness is this is for game play. It is under control. You like play or you want to play, you can decide. Whereas the earlier one was Edmund, and the organization introduces. So that is the change. Okay. And the other motivation. That's what is motivation. This and that. Okay. I was examining PhD student from somewhere. I'm examining somewhere for 10 years now. So I became intern there. Then three supervisors, two of them associate professor, one below student from China. And she used this theory to explain this autonomous driving car. She says, I want to study it. Then during the professor answered, are they already using this or not yet? And they said they have not used yet. And then I said, I failed you. Because theory tells you this is intention to continue use, not intention to use. They didn't read the origin. They didn't read the origin. They said this is intention, right? But I don't have no intention to continue this. And because they have this variable habit, how can you have a habit before basic understanding? Yeah? To associate one PhD. Yeah? Should that be during the deliberation, I said, how come you learn this one? This is lots of literature like this. But lots of literature doesn't say it's right. This is not right. The origin theory. This variable and this variable time. This was collected at the same time. This is collected 4 months later. 4 months later from the same person. From the same. So this is the intend to continue. I will always try and then to continue. These are all intention to continue. So the variable is intent. That's why we need to go and read the original. Okay. Yeah. This is the original usage. And then the equal usage after there are 2 rounds. And see here. First they recruited 4,127 round 1. In round 2, they went down to 2,220. Out of the 220, they found that 600, they actually responded, but they have not used. It's still reading. So finally, they only analyzed 1,500 after the time 1 and time 2. This is what we call as mortality in data collection. The same person must answer time 1 and time 2. Yes.
This issue with the sample sizing. Also the sample size. in terms of the preparation of center based on the pay.
And
So in cases that are assigned as that that cannot be using a sample size are bigger than what is proposed. What is okay?
actually, let's say we don't see how to compare the sample size. We have a minimum sample size needed. But we can take a bigger sample size.
Of course, you can take a sample size, but our bad here is that it's because of the species. So this is why you should have a size that's far bigger than sample size. Based on the design.
Okay, that is because of the problem of p value. We have a problem with p value when the sample size is large. Everything seems to be significant. But we can use other methods to validate, right? We have effect size, we have confidence interval. So sample size doesn't play a role in effect size.
Yeah, of course.
So that's why we can actually take a bigger sample size.
Yeah, but the question going to ask yes. Say that you always think about it, well, right? You right, but in fact, I can right, and sample size has been recommended. That's the recommended sentence. Right? Here you're getting more out. You're using a lot of wisdom resources, right?
It's not because they look for time on time to work. This kind of studies, the number will drop very fast. If you do time one, time two, time three. Later you can see an example of the distance of the bigger number. Response will very low.
Yeah.
Also the numbers will come down. Time one, time two. But sample size plays a role if you only focus on p value. If you have multiple measures, sample size doesn't matter. I would be happy if my student wants to collect 1,000. Because that's a big sample, you can step like that. Not easy to get 1,000. Anybody getting that kind of numbers? It's not because they have funding. They're funded by big companies, so they can do that. Right? So only thing is the same person from time one must answer time two. Then only they are complete. That's one of the problems with time one. So these are the icons they use to measure this relationship, and now we have the problem of reflective formatting. Reflective formatting. And now this is actually measured formatting by representation. What it says is don't use all of them at the same level. Right? You use number one, number two, a lot, but 3, 4, 5, you don't use at all. But they are all combining to see how much you use, extent of usage. So they actually composite. So this is also happening with measurement. Changes in the pen. Okay, so this is the story of Venkatesh. So during the question and answer time, I asked him the question you asked just now. And it is
Sorry, but because the main thing is formatting. Okay.
this is all.
Okay.
And we do. Okay, here I asked him a question. Many cases students use your TAUT. I brought the moderators from the model because they are not familiar with academic moderators. What do you think? This reminded me was crazy. The guy who developed the trade theory is telling you they are crazy. I spent 17 years developing the theory. You just drop because you don't know to do certain things. Doesn't make sense. There's a paper he wrote with Leng Chong. They actually analyzed TAUT. They said many papers reporting you TAUT, they are actually incorrect. Without the moderators, issue doesn't make sense. The theory comes as a package. Then only you can do comparison. Then only you can do. Yeah, because some to so you have a choice, right? Which theory you want to use. That's why we need to understand these before we decide. Okay, this is a question just now you asked, right? Technology adoption, we have this theory. These are the familiar theories. This is there are some other theories, right? Most of us don't. We don't know, right? By saying these are better theories, right? Why are you still using 10 here? That's a problem here. Better theory. I have to tell my students that try looking at more interesting theories because if you use the same theory, very difficult to find contribution. This is from a guy called Papa Davidson. No? Papa Davidson is the chief editor of Information System Research. He's at the University of Hong Kong. Have you been to Hong Kong? Not a very place to live in. It's very small, right? The rooms are very small. So one of the professors came for a tour. Just a very small room, two professors, and then but the scenery is the view is very nice, all very nice building. But the life is very stressful at that. They have a KPI, right? Half the department is terminated after 3 years. So they don't achieve KPI. And then they hire new ones. So you don't want to come to work. The city is your home. He's the chief editor of ISR, right? So he's okay lah because they want to keep him because he's the chief editor of Atom. So this is the issue of the theory. Yeah? There is some papers written on theory that we can look at. So long the research. Another one is borrowing theories. If you want to borrow theories from different areas, you can also do that. If you are looking for of theories, on website you can find theories for different areas, marketing, psychology, strategic management. For those who are using information system, they have a lot of theories related to technology. Then I've given you a book. It is a folder called in the folder that I gave you, you will have a folder called this folder called under theory. This book gives you a list of theory used in organizational level study. I think 40 over theories. You can pick whichever one you want. The good thing about this book is they tell you what are the limitations with the theory, what are things you can do in future research. Theory. From low medicine. I don't know. And for medical later, you can also at least here the head for measurement. To look for certain measurement, they already come. You can take the head in the it was a time to buy. So, okay, let's see the model. This is how we draw a research model, right? So you have to use square box or you have to use the boxes. This is only representation. Okay, representation. Okay, so this is an example using a theory to explain. The theory is called consumption values. This was developed by Shaq Newman Group. They have these 5 values, that is willingness to pay for something. Any willingness to pay, but this one you're telling we will have these 5 conditions. If you have to add on, you can based on your area of study, you can add on any other values. That's what called as conceptual scheme. This is what I want to add for my model. So it's called conceptual. The original is theory. The theory has 5 variables, right? So that's the difference between conceptual and theoretical. So in some studies you see this table, right? H1, H2, H3. I actually don't like to do this. Relevant. If you want, you can also put the expected sign, plus or minus from the literature, right? You review, this is plus, right? All of them are positive, right? Then we plus sign. Expected value, right? Later we will see what happens. So that's how you can present in your system or paper. So this kind of about theoretical and conceptual framework. Theoretical framework is at a higher level. No? You use a theory to frame your research. Theory of mind behavior, theory of reason action, right? Your research model, we can call them conceptual. How you visualize your research, yeah? Like this, the original theory of stimulus organism response came from the original theory of stimulus response. This is a similar, right? If the background, your response is equal to amount, right? Okay, that's all the theory has. Because of this, you could do this. Okay. So you need to frame this and this example. What is similar? What is response? You get it. That's all it tells. So that's the theory. Yeah? And then they expanded it into similar organism response. In between, there's something happening. Okay. Some people don't care, right? Even the side also is like, but it is like they used to be like, so in between, there's something happening. That's what they expanded it to XOR. Okay. So this is the difference between your theoretical and conceptual framework. Okay. We have teaching method and academic performance. New teaching method and academic performance. That is called your conceptual variable because your model is stimulus response. Theoretical variable is a new teaching method and academic performance. Okay. Right now we can differentiate. The only problem is that we do this in some Viva, they actually discuss this very long. The examiners will have argument with another examiner whether this is the conceptual model or theoretical model. So I tell my student, don't write anything, just write my research model. I don't care conceptual model, I don't care. My research model will be driven by a theory. All my students have a term called research model. No conceptual, no theory.
That's because that's, monkey will bring there by law, as it said that no concept from the bomb.
Finish training.
I think it's about languages.
Yeah, that's why it is. Only lah. So as long as you understand that your theory, you already right? Theory of plan behavior. I want to study theory of plan behavior with this way. That's your conceptual model. So research model, conceptual model, why are you fighting? As long as the process is correct. But they have a template lah. Problem rubric, right? They have a template, right? They are looking for the so this is why I actually don't like to discuss it, but every time I do, they will answer. So what is the difference between theoretical framework and conceptual framework? So that's how you can be. It's still conceptual. Once you test them, then you can say whether it supports or not. The theoretical one is based on the theory. These are the variables. So this is the flow. Model is actually guided by the theory. That's why we call them theoretical.
Some theoretical framework and the conceptual framework is same.
Yeah. Not like see like TBB, yeah. You have the three variables, right? I can actually collect the same variable and then test whether theory works. Except application, nothing is new. Right? But conceptual model is I want to test this theory whether you exercise regularly. So now I'm testing this technique. The theory is still the same. Joshua.
This outcomes actually, stays and then action in the system. Because I didn't mix it. The example is said, the guy thought, show and going to yes, so the change was meant to say, so this is meant for AI use it. So then that's why it's much.
And people have this misunderstanding. I see this a lot. In many developing countries, are not very familiar with this debate. So you need to understand that. Okay. So if you see this model, okay, students send me the model, and what the students said was I'm using RBV 10 and contingency area. When you look at this model, the three theories they use to underpin the model. And this problem you see. Can is not there. Why added the 10 is but you say 10 because I have e-commerce adoption. It is also resources, no need another theory. E-commerce adoption is a resource, right? So we don't need contingency theory because of this. Right? So you can use contingency theory or just use RBD. No need for theory. One theory was right. Your business environment is also your resource, right? External resources. We can actually frame them with one theory. So you decide which one you are saying. Okay, so okay. Any questions on the theory part? Okay, next we will look at contribution. This one you need to have a better understanding. For contribution, we will look at three types of contribution. One is called statistical contribution, empirical contribution, and methodological contribution. The most important one for those who are doing master's or PhD is number one. Okay, number one. But if you are writing a paper, you can focus on number two or number three. So number one is the only one which is original. Number two maybe not original. So these are the four conceptual contribution that you can look at. Number one is related to developing a new skill. Number two is the one everybody focuses on. Okay, you have a theory, then you add some variables to the theory. That is the one very popular in Malaysia. In many other countries. Number three is a more difficult one. You are saying the original theory don't have some relationship that they didn't test. We need to test it for some reason. You're adding some explanation. Number four is the most difficult one. You are only changing the explanation. The variables are still the same. That's the most difficult. Number one is integer. Okay. This is a scale called knowledge sharing, which has two dimensions, implicit and explicit. And they have been using this scale for a long time, very, very highly cited in the journal of MIS Quarterly. This implicit is your know-how. This is no one. Know-how happens only when you meet the person. So you go to conference, you go to workshop. The transfer is from the person to you. The no one can get anywhere, right? Really available, right? Memos, whatever. So this one we can get easily, but this one only happens when we do previously. Now we also have people sharing without meeting. We have webinar, we have social media, right? So this measurement was not sufficient anymore. Because previously we didn't have that kind of technology. Now we have it. So this lady called Yati, this is the name of the person. She did a PhD in the US. So what she did was she said this measurement is no longer sufficient. I want to extend the measurement with 4 dimensions. Okay, 4 dimensions. Okay. These two written contribution and organization of publication, they are actually explicit. Because you write memos, those are all here. And then we have the personal interaction still there. So you see, personal interaction, you mean, but we have added one more here. You see, communities of practice. Now we have people the same group, right? They share. Like you drive certain car, right? They get together in a Facebook page and then it's yours. You have to change tire, you go here, you have to change oil, you go here. They don't even know you. But they still share. Right?
Isn't that also having this is community of practice?
Yeah, this one is implicit. This is implicit, this one is explicit. And this is no harm. Okay. So now without meeting the person, you can still share. Now, if you see, I have a 10-page group, you know. Clement on the group. No? I have a 10-page group, you know. I have a 10-page group. Group 1 and group 1 already full. So they started 10 page. You can see some of the discussion. Some of my friends, what some of my ex couldn't tell me. Oh, we are so nice. Some you are not so nice with us. They ask questions. Some of the questions are really stupid. You still reply. You are very patient. Generation is different now. Our generations are different now. Sometimes you like sometimes I reply what everything are doing. Yesterday I had a discussion with my mom professor. Give them an assignment. I said that and then I have one variable for it's a pretty good. Then the other variables all we have run reliability. So I'm now teaching them how to use Omega, the new reliability. Yeah. And then this student is messaging. For this, I can finish my assignment in 9 weeks. You can try. Yeah. Then confidence. Then yesterday she was messaging. How there's no reliability for gender. I took some time before I settled down before I didn't want to open the person. It must. Then I replied, no? You didn't pay attention in class. Huh? Reliability is for multiple item scale when they are matching. Let's say one consistency. If there is categorical variable, no reliability. Then she's asking me, yeah, do your homework. That's the kind of. In the class, I always explain reliability is for multiple item scale. 3 item, 4 item, see the consistency. Gender also you want to see whether it's reliable or not. Oh my God.
Maybe she is trying to see the reliability among.
So we are in this group and then they ask questions. I will tell them some of the issues we see. Not of them asking for papers. Not so much exact. This is the first contribution. Developing a new skill. This is different from what most of you are doing, right? Here don't have independent dependent. No moderator, no mediator, no nothing. It will take you 5-6 years. The process is quite long. So contribution. I have a new scale. The scale I want to test validity. There are many steps for this. Convergent validity, discrete validity, predictive validity, homological validity for this. So what happened after she developed the scale, she published this journal knowledge management research and in 2009. And then I applied for a grant on the same issue of knowledge sharing among academics. And because I used the same scale, I wrote a paper on scale validation. I'm not developing the scale, right? Scale was already developed. I want to test whether the scale works in Malaysia. That was published in November 5. One of the biggest study, right? My dependent variable is 4 dimensions. I want to test whether the same measurement developed by this lady works in Malaysia. That's called scale validation. So you can also, so scale development is important.
What about sharing CAP skill there?
It's not excluded, right? This is second order.
This is like on
Second order, first order, second order. So we can use a software called AMOS, right? So give you some feedback. See whether the model works. So you can actually do that kind of papers also. For the training. This is number one, right? Anybody doing this? Okay, now this is the one everybody is doing. Okay. What you do, you start with the theory, right? The theory has only two independent and one dependent. Huh? Two into eight variable somewhere in the bottom. Right. Yes. Everybody can. That's the training we got. Right? Yes. Now you know why number two is very important. That's the easiest to do. You have a better idea, right? This is the theory. I add over here, and then I examine and say, okay, then only you go on. It can be anywhere, right? Here also can, here also can, starting moderator, mediator, etc. But you need to imagine, each of them focus on this. No moderator, no mediator, no mediator. This is written by that, huh? This might be one association. Too simple, it is, huh? Moderator, mediator, it's even more. True. Anywhere in the model, right? You're adding some variable because of the reasoning in the gap. You have found some gap from the you're adding some variable. Whether it works or not is a different story, but contribution is putting the variables together. Okay, so this is the most popular, most popular.
From in the Richard, I add one variable inside there, and now when we do the calculate testing, it's not significant to okay with it.
Findings is a different story. You don't pass with the finding, right? So examples you pass based on the proposal. They say it works. It is workable, but we don't know when it will work. Because the data characteristics, sometimes your data has more older people, younger people. That kind of combination will also change the data. But you have to explain why. It's just how this is done. Okay. And number three is so we have three, one and one. There are some errors not in the theory, right? It's not drawn in the theory. What you say is now these arrows are needed, and you give the reasoning one. This one was not tested before. Now we are saying this is needed for reasoning. So this is the third one. This is highly more difficult. You don't see many people doing it. The last one is the most difficult. In the original they explain that I need to this invention for some reason, right? I say I have an alternative explanation. Changes in the culture, changes in the environment, have a different explanation. The relationship is still the same, but explanation is changed. So you are actually having a different explanation. So this is the most difficult. So that's why you see many people focus on numbers. That's it. Even for papers, right? You focus on numbers.
From if you use a dot line, then we are trying to indicate that that is equating there.
This one I'm only speaking for to show that this is the relationship, right? I'm taking the same relationship. I have a different explanation. Alternative explanation. The variable still. Variable still. For drawing, you can draw different ways for presentation, for mediation, or the dotted line, or no dotted line, doesn't matter. So the hypothesis already done examination. Okay. The variable yesterday we already covered. Throw variables. Throw variables. You want to go for that, right? Well, they also have some effect. Okay. So this is break down character. We are adding explanatory variable mechanism with behavior. Explanatory variable is independent variable. enrich understanding. We can also test non-linear relationship. Alternative, these are some of the ways you can make a test. You can also add like skill development. We can also create a new level of constellation of them. And then we can add moderators. Theory, different context with moderators. So that those are some of the things you can do. The second contribution is called analytical contribution. This contribution is not original. This contribution you get for the first one. Remember, we already developed here. Now we're testing the psychometric, whether the measurement is valid or reliable. Right? We are ready for one. This is moderator and mediator. Okay, for moderator mediation, there are different ways of testing. Right? Okay, this one. The third one is contribution number 3. Remember, we have added some arrows. We will test whether it's so the contribution comes from conception. Here we are now only that. Okay. This contribution is methodological. This is one of the issues now with shared method variance is where we collect data from the same person or the independent, dependent, moderating mediating. Correct? Everybody okay? Need to. Because we are trained by the same people. Right?
Most of the time.
No. You are just giving excuses. Since you are doing it like automatic, everybody, you were trained like that. One question I go and come back, you learn everything. We didn't have India, and now no more have Sri Lanka. And it just don't like this. We have a problem called variation. I think that's all. That means you answer independent, you answer dependent, you answer consistent. So the relationship is already there. No need to test also the equally related. Now you have to identify better than higher. It's very so instead of collecting data using the same person, you can collect data using different sources. Different sources. Number 2 is many people use non-random sampling. Can we put a random sampling together? For example, we have FFM directory, right? This is a mix of everything. Can we clean the directory and have a list? We select companies from the list randomly and see whether the results are the same. So now we are not changing the variable, only changing the sampling method. Originally non-random, now we are doing random, see whether the same result are. Originality is not that, but we still can say we are changing the method. Okay. The third one is also in the moderator, mediator, and here we are saying because they tested using a different method, like for moderator we are using productive, right? But now we have say hybrid, different ways of that. Then changing the data flow is the way we collect data. Most of the time we collect data using self-report, right? Self-report. You lost anybody there when you waste. Wasteful. 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 Say no. You will be wasteful, right? You will be wasteful. But you don't want to say because it's socially undesirable. One of my students said like that. We give them the question when they are moderate students and then ask them to fill up. The last part is we will the researcher will look at after they eat how much food is wasted on the portion. And then you can see whether the intention and actual behavior is correlated. Many studies have shown that intention and actual behavior they are not correlated. Now there's a lot of debate about this. In good learners, they don't like intention anymore. They say intention, you say that good, actually you don't do. Now between intention and behavior also they moderators. See that.
Bro, last time mark your as for second order, you think the item is there. Now you change second stage,
Two stage.
two stage. So that means what is
Disjoint.
uh,
Disjoint.
design the need and like score and they consider underneath the
Just change the way you run the analysis. And the contribution by itself, but it's not original.
even commenting total data now reflecting our
This one is like that. The previous student from UPenn, she has an activity background. She was playing a model like this. She wants to simply, this is knowledge. Whether your knowledge drives the way you search. And then search is to get certificate or not. Usually this is questionnaire. This is questionnaire, this is questionnaire, right? This is the way we collect it. But she didn't do that. And this one is a questionnaire, 10 item questionnaire. We actually work with a professor from UPenn, who's doing research on home delivery. We have 10 questions, you answer right or wrong. So they can get a 0 mark or they can get 100 mark. Objective question. So this is actually a score. So they will fill up a questionnaire first. Then they go to a computer lab, 30 computers, and they have a server in the lab. Okay? So they are asked to search for homestay. And then what will happen is each computer will have a log. That's the way you search. So we want to know the way they search. That means in the same page you scroll down. Okay? That means you go from one page to another. The search strategy, right? This one, after they finish the search, the researcher will look at each computer log and score. This one, it is scored by the researcher. Okay. After they finish the thing, they will fill out a search satisfaction question. This is primary data. This is primary data. This is the computer log. Okay. So this data collection method. Data collection method. That was but he has some IT background. So you need to set up a server. Because in the university, they won't let you look at the privacy concern. Remember? Actually, every day when we log in, the university know what they are doing. So you don't care, right? They actually want, they can monitor. They want to make life difficult for you to care. Because from the time you log in until you log out, they have a log, nobody are. But most of us don't care because nobody gets paid, right? To get the log, you need permission. You do this before they come, they have a form to sign up, one sign. So this is all you get. The one and only one. Because she has an IT background. Most of my students all this questionnaire. They don't want to change that. So next, the 3 contribution you can look at.
More experiment. Any
I still tell you, I'm noticing the this one comes from questionnaire.
must be
No. They will do the search. Searcher will look at the way they search and come on.
so this score based how many websites they search or based on
How they run, how they search. Say what they search. They have some rubric.
so how do you get more of these people when they are actually doing it? So
They finish because there's a server. All these 30 PC will go through this server.
so they have
30, they will have 30 records of this computer. How they search.
so they will go to the lab.
They have a lab. She set up a lab because no, others cannot do.
Yeah.
Because if we ask the university, they will not. That's why I'm saying not easy to do. But since she has some background, that's what she did. The one and the only one. The rest are all questionnaire. So this is also methodological concern because it's the way you collect data. Instead of asking them how you search, right? We are actually looking at a log. How do you search?
Size
200 something. She had several sessions. She's working in the IT school, so they have access. We use student learning.
the student aware they
No, the students must be, and they do this, right, when they come in, they have to fill out the form, then we will be looking at it now.
no the student who they are doing participating.
Yeah. You have to tell them, no, because this ethical concern, because you are looking at the law, right? You need permission.
If they not working, definitely they will search more
No, but that one you won't, because this one is already the way you write it. Some people are like that, right? You go scroll down slowly. Some people are very impatient. From here they click to another page, go to another page, and half a day going from page. And that's some people like that. So, but you need permission. That's why now we have lots of problem with ethical clearance. Green Channel wants you to have the ethical clearance, saying that you have to follow a procedure to ask for permission, so on, before they publish your paper. That's the reason we have in US. Many of my students are not very happy here. They want to submit to SSCI. Now, SSCI, they know all of this ethical clearance. If you don't have an ethical clearance, we will not proceed with your paper. Now they get started. Right? That's a good thing you are doing. You're Australian. I can understand that. Because when I went to University of Melbourne, also, they have a departmental meeting every month. It's ethical clearance. In my government, we don't care. You do what you want. You just go. Until today, I felt that these officers say, this is very difficult because we are 600 students. We have to meet very regularly. But you want them to publish, right? In good journal, now they have requirement for ethical clearance. There's an ethical code number. They want that number. Previously, I was writing like this. There's a Helsinki protocol, you know. I'm a different planet. Protocol called Helsinki protocol. Some journals accept that. They're saying you follow this Helsinki protocol, which you ask for informed consent, whatever. Some journals don't. Some journals don't. It's why we need ethical clearance.
No, there's no, this not reply, right? Do we still need to say that or need to consider about the That's. So this first one. Yeah.
So, this is different sources of data collection. It's not single source, right?
Often about those cases whereby, right, it actually from the same sources, but we collect the data. We need to stick to about the.
No, is there a timeline on it?
Yeah.
Because they are collected all at the same time. Not easily. I know. That's why I'm talking about easily and last. Easy to collect data, but we have this concern, right? We need to also address the concern. Later we will discuss. Okay, so we have this example. What I've been talking about that. It's a paper in Journal of Marketing. Journal of Marketing is like one of the top journals in the world. If you see this dark line, right? These are already tested and confirmed. I think we have this dotted line, right? You see the dotted line? Theoretically, they are supposed to be significant, but when you check empirically, they are not significant. Theoretically, they are important, but they are not significant. So we are having this broken line, right? You see, these are untested theoretical relationships. Remember number 3? Just now I told you number 3, the arrow. They are adding, so they are actually adding two theories together. The same these arrows are also there. So you can see clearly, right? What I was talking about. This is new. This thing again. This is new. They have not been tested yet. So that's how you can identify your configuration. Okay. We also have this paper by Ladek and Stewart. They review this division from not original. This is totally original. Number 1 is you are doing a replication study. Okay. Replication studies can also be published in good journals. Do you know? How many have done replications? It's Friday. I published lots of replication papers. No? The same model tested in the West, you with the Malaysian technique, right? You see whether the theory works or the model works. You can still publish in a good journal, but not at the top journals. But still good journals. You can. For paper can, not for the master's or PhD. Yeah. Okay. And what we go on is this one. Replication and extension. That means you take the same model, but you add some variable to the model. What we call as replication. Okay, let's see, we have this theory called theory of reason-action. Real attitudes, theory norm, and intention. This is the three variables we have. One side. We will just take this model, still do, but it's number one. Replication. Okay. We do is we start with this model. Okay. With variable to the left. In the sense. To the left. We are doing this. We know attitude is the intention, but we don't know what influences attitude. We want to understand this part. If we understand this, we can change this, right? We can change this, right? We change this will change, this change, this will also change. Okay, so we are only this. This is called decomposition. To the left. Okay. This is the other also facility done offline. This is why something online or thing to do with the internet. Now we are doing this, that one is online, right? So we have added two more variables here. Because of the online context, we have security, we have privacy, right? Now we are adding some variables because of the context. So instead of the original two variables, we are adding two more independent variables. Okay.
That's also high. Let's go there.
Okay. So that's what it is. We have positive attitude, but intention is not there because there's another variable there because of this online thing. This is especially for chatbot. Chatbot is you're talking to a robot, you know. And they have this like Asia has a robot called Steve, right? What? Then they fire the robot, no? And now Bo.
Yes.
So now you talk to Bo, not Evan. Evan will fight. Robot also can. But I don't like it. I like to talk to human, right? There's a variable called for human interaction. Okay, the moderator. So now we are adding one moderator here. So that also contribution. And then we have another variable we add. We want to test the mediation effect. So this is how you extend the model. We call it replication and extension. This is the minimum you can do at any level of setting. Okay. That depends also on the kind of how many variables you want to add. Okay. Most students focus on this one. I'm used to it, so I can draw it. But you take a long time, so I didn't find it. You need to go to the literature. So many of my students who systematic literature. Systematic literature, you can get a picture. What theories people have used, common theories people have used, what common variable they have studied. No? Then we can look at the model.
Let's say, can we say, for example, now I can say, oh, behind me is put another resist security. Can I just like simply?
Because of AI, we have a variable which is very popular. It's called what it means is human life. They want to look at one of the variables we have Yeah.
I mean, basically, let's say back to me. How do I know which one? For example, I study model of so when I do the literature review, what I need to find out the intermediate. Yeah.
We will talk about literature review.
Okay.
Here, this is
Okay.
not with intention to use AI or intention to continue using AI.
You see,
Continue or intention. I had a very and I want to study invented AI on Chinese academic. They forget about it. Everybody is using it. You like it or not? Why are you studying invention? Let's say, okay, actually, yeah, invention. You need to think lah. Yeah, everybody at a low level of how you are using. I also use very low level for certain reasons. I use like you are like you are need to come out with a nicer title, right? I can just quickly tell I want a complex and give you very nice title, you know, right? You want to know theories in certain area, right? Just tell them, can you tell me the theories in this? And they give you one later. What did you do certainly?
show the article summarize first.
No, but the problem is when you they have a problem of writing. There's a certain way of writing. When you read, you already who is writing. So now a lot of papers are being rejected because of they're actually using AI to write. Everybody is using AI to write. Most universities have no policy. Yeah. Universities don't have policy. Yeah. Very clear policy. Yeah. They are very quiet. They know, but they just for their heart. You have to take action. You must have to prove it. Oh yeah, like. Now we have a page you know. One Chinese researcher fired for terminated because they said he use AI. I say no, because I'm here for a long time. I tried, but they reported and he got terminated now for case. So that's so it is starting this right. And if you look at the designs, so like the chatbot. Actually, I was supposed to give a key Australia or chatbot user. I had learned to do SLR. Then she used that for her own test. We found that variable called need for human internet as one later. So that's how you can find out some variable. Right? And I will say to you, nobody didn't mention anymore. Now we have another one, deep sea. Then you know, my student said, oh, what like that? It's a very good. I don't know last time.
Better than
Yeah, better, very much. I don't know lah. So then you check. We accept your proposal. Context we don't talk about. This is chapter number 1. Context chapter number 2 is chapter number 3 is that's how we decide whether your project is doable. Based on this lah. So revision then emphasize context, breaking the theory and some contribution, and this is how carry out. Then you go. Then the project is doable. The project is doable. So that's how the chapter. Invest 3 or 3 chapters, including the questionnaire. Then only you can go for proposal defense. Then we decide whether you can go ahead or you have to. Very safe, but the same on theory building. Okay, this is the papers I would recommend. The paper just now about the different types of contribution. They even give you how to write your contribution. This is a paper for an expert. This paper I really like because the way they write the instruction very well. This is Morgan Kaleka and Satya. They write the paper in an area called international business. Okay, since you are not very good, right? So you have to learn from the better ones. How they make. You have to practice. Just practice. Once you start writing, then after a while your writing skills also, and you will have many variations. It's a many papers, right? From the time I started now, uh, at the current moment, I can write quickly. Yeah, I already have a lot of resources. If you start writing, then you can. If you don't write, try reading paper like that. I usually read a paper by Venkatesh. He writes very well. Most of the sections he writes very well. So you also pick up from it. And we will take a break.
It's right. Because I'm yeah. Yeah, it's from 30. It's everything. Right.
Okay. We will take a break.
Yeah, you can't some very eggs. It's some yeah. So you have to really listen to all already are in see it email, answer the email there. Okay. Let's let the problem issue.
I think that's something the wrong can create. We can create picture.
Yeah.
we know that's
No, so you school, Michelle.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Said he I still I got so many issues. That's what they believe that. Still,
On the sentence.
he's doing this. Is so yes.
I answer it. On.
The student that might be student. The one different from the question.
Why? Answer provided. Waste of time.
Because of services components, right?
Can off. Replace.
It's subject. Okay.
Because then, if I'm provider of it,
Well, just not say about
yes, I can.
Because when we see the PC, then you can see the
Long as it turn out it.
yeah, yeah. There's a content. So from your VSP students, you want them to do the PCA. It's not it's not I don't know. Yeah. McDonald or Mecca, sometimes it's smaller than Cobra Alpha, sometimes bigger than Cobra Alpha.
It is always better.
So sometimes, yeah, mostly it's higher.
Okay, before we continue, just now I saw a post on the Facebook. Then I laughed at the boys also. Okay. If you don't show, nobody will know. When you show your ability, you don't know. This is from University in the North. And he's posting a China student presentation with a picture and caption is measurement model. After 3 years of struggle, my PhD candidate passed with a very minor correction. Yeah, I look at the post, I say, Alamak, fine, like that, I will favor. He said it, yeah. He's showing a structural model and labeling it as measurement model, interpreting the loading from the structural model in a model. This is a big problem. This is understanding. So it is better for you not to show publicly, right? Can be stupid, but tell everybody nothing. So I see, I know so much about my students. Once in a while, I post because they're better students. Other than that, There's a publication also, if I want to post every week, I can post. Last time I got 16 publications. It's focused and that was it. Not including the other so every week I can post. But I don't do that. That's not very nice. I show you all, right? But certainly some papers I post because they are well written or content are important. I usually share papers written by others. Take a good paper for you. And that's what I usually do. Okay, so we have finished the first part, which is a more important one. Understanding it is very important. But I want to show you this paper that I was doing for journal called Business Process Management Journal. This is a web for science journal. Can you look at the model and tell me what is online? They want to make my firm performance, and they are saying it's cold. Yeah, I don't know. Oh my God. So you're telling it's just a thing. I want to adopt and your firm performance will go up. No need to adopt. This is your level. This is a theory called UCA. This is individual level. This is individual level. This is also individual level. And leads to firm performance. This is item intended to you, not at you. Okay? Not at you, your firm performance will go up. Only to you. I find this quite strange. At this level, because something doesn't make sense at all. Logical sense. I'm not saying logical sense. You must use before your firm performance improves. If the variable here is extent of adoption, firm performance correct. So the more you adopt, the better it will. Yeah, but it doesn't make sense. So I take time papers like this to review. I received the next citizen is reject. But the respondent can be individual. Cannot. This was so common. During governance is organization, theory must be organization. This is another problem I see a lot. Okay, in Malaysia especially. In GSV, lots of them. With the former dean also got.
Because this type of model also students' certification given is that individual collectively their efforts. That's why I put into the organizational outcome. It's like once you agree.
That would have needed to see or have a proxy.
This is not a target. The multi-level. You can also do multi-level analysis, individual and organization. But that's called aggregation. You must aggregate the individual level to the organization. You cannot, because one performance only, right? If you take 10 people from the same company, they have 10 different performance. Hello, where you learn accounting? That makes sense, right? So you need to know each one. So it must be corrected from one person responding on behalf of.
Even organization
Organization commitment is your saying the manager is the overall organization. Okay. How you measure different. How you measure is different. Can be. Organization commitment is actually individual. But you can also measure at the organization level, but the manager is responding on behalf of the company, whether the employees are committed. Not I committed. Then the question is I. Hello. company and I is not the same, no? I am committed to my job. So what lah? But you only like, okay, but that's not. So it's different. Our for organizational level commitment, our employees are committed. See, the items are not the same. So that's why we need to understand levels. Not the same, not the same. Okay, next we will look at this topic on literature is. This is what is meant by literature. The literature you interact with to understand your. So most of the time you will be interacting with certain kind of literature. We have three types of literature. Number one is called the primary literature. This is the most important. These are the primary literature. Dissertation, conference proceedings, journals, and so on. And most of the time you on the this is the main primary literature. We also need to know the different levels in the journals. We have Scopus, Web of Science, and ERA, right? We also have dissertation. You can cite some papers from some dissertation, but not too many, because many journal editors don't like citation to dissertation because dissertations are unpublished. Remember that. Okay, you can cite, but not too many. I try any dissertation. Conference proceedings still okay because many of the literature in Malaysia is appearing in conference only. We think some conference papers also the other conference, many of these conference proceedings they don't have the full page. You only know the title or some you can request from them. How many of you are on research here? It's very good for you to make papers. Many people request my papers. What I do is I just 3 days I do send. 10 people request all time. But you can upload directly. You can upload private copy. Anytime people request, you can send from the private copy. Citation will go up when you share it. More people will. This is possible. Then we will do. Okay, so it's called secondary literature. Why it's called secondary? Because review papers and so on, they actually don't collect data. They look at papers already published, they put them together and analyze. So they are actually not collecting data for the purpose of the research. That's why. If you get one paper which is meta-analysis, you are a very lucky person. They want to study organizational commitment. They look at all variables from the left to this. They will start to this relationship is wrong, this relationship is weak. Where to add moderator, where to add mediator. They even tell you one moderator, mediator, but they have not run the analysis yet. They are only suggesting. So if you get that kind of paper, then your life is very easy. If you get a 2025 paper, they have all the papers prior to 2020. But very lucky. Yeah, papers. So like one paper on organizational resilience, systematic literature. It's getting lots of citation. But in one paper, you get all the other papers that you can. So this is and in Malaysia, we don't accept. I don't know that reason. Systematic literature also some part of the basic. It's a part of the project. Another one is textbook and encyclopedia and books. Okay, for textbook, we also we have some people who like to write certain university, I don't know whether they are actually authenticated or not. Okay, so usually textbook we have cited books like Hair, right? This is like the big name in our area. We are doing Smart Sellers as a book by Hair called Crime, right? 1, 2, and 3. That's what you should say, not the. Okay, look at this. Because who takes some time before the update. Right, looking at the dilemma. And when, why do we do this literally do this reason? One of the biggest reasons why we do this literature is to identify. You can get a quick picture of what is already done. And then whether we should do the research or not. If you don't find literature, that is already telling you should not look at it. Or you want to do the topic one. So there's no literature to be. So that's how we decide whether we should do the. For reviews, we usually talk about the last 5 years. And some supervisors like their students to look at Scopus and Web of Science. I don't have a particular preference. As long as the literature is related to what we want to do is okay. But it should be the last 5 years. You can cite some papers which are old, which are called seminal papers, but it should be the last 5 years. That's the requirement. Okay, so this is your Web of Science, where you can go and search for different databases. SSCI, SCI, ESCI, and AHCI. In Malaysia, we only count as SSCI and SCI. Similarly, in China, they only look at SSCI and FCI. That's considered a higher level in terms of quality. Whether they are right or not, we are not sure. But they are considered. You publish in Web of Science, you already there. Correct? When I first started many years ago, the professor used to tell me, in social sciences, it's nearly impossible to publish a paper in Web of Science. I was stupid at that time. I actually believe that. After a while, I realized they are trying to console themselves. So they cannot publish, right? To tell everybody it's nearly so that everybody don't get it. Not so. Even my PhD students are publishing in Web of Science. Some students can just push them a bit. So you need to know the content, the context and the content of that journal. If you're familiar, then you. So this is considered a better quality platform. The second one is called Scopus. This is the second level. In Indonesia, we focus on this. Like in Indonesia, they don't focus on Web of Science at all. They only focus on Scopus.
Yeah. The options of publish in and Scopus saying to
Scopus. SBSC not on. I actually don't tell my friends forget about BSCI. BSCI has 8,000 SSCI only 3,000. So let's focus on Scopus. If you want Web of Science, just focus on Scopus. It's already okay. The matter Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay, in Malaysia, they don't value so much books, fortunately. And the book only the next year, not the same. We lost the KPI. The KPI is counted on that year, not the next year. When you write the book, right, the book is published this year. Your book is indexed in Scopus next year. So your book is still not in Scopus. A year that you claim KPI. And that's other problem with books. But the good thing about books is you get royalty. Dapat pendapatan sampingan. Some of those, like I wrote a book on smart killers. We already repeated the how many times. It's selling very well. The smart killers to be right. Everybody is asking about smart killers for. That book is selling very well. Started with PSN. We have 2 options. One is PSN will publish and they will pay. And the other one is they will do all the process and they tell you, we will give you a rate. And you have to order 500 copies. Then you sell on your book. We agree. These are 500 and then it's That's how you can understand. Then the price you get was listen will give you a price. We have many publishers of books, right? Like IBM Global, right? You publish with them, you don't need to worry. Yeah? At the end of the year, they will send you a statement. These are the number of books sold. This is your royalty. Your pay. So books you get royalty, yeah? But general article you don't get anything. You can consider that. In India, they like to write. But there's a big market. Huh? You write one book, that's a big market, right? And Indonesia also say they like to write. Whereas books are not very sold. So this corpus is also higher than your hierarchy area. Okay. And when you do this search, Scopus also has an alert. No? How many of you use Scopus alert? All living in a different planet. Scopus has an alert. Search on a keyword, right? And then what you do is you tell them, I want an alert. What happens is every week at a certain time, you can decide what time you want. They send you a link saying that these are the papers published on that particular topic. So you don't have to search for the literature. Literature now comes to your desktop. You are actually living in a very good world.
Which is like our university
First is you can register, but also you cannot register. You must have published a paper there. Then they will set up an account with ID.
Publish a Scopus out
But you can register privately with Scopus as well.
need to pay, is it?
No. Institution you have to pay lah, but
Yeah.
individually you can. Okay, so what you do is you put in your website. If you search, right, there's a button to click alert. And every week on that same topic. So that's you can do this. The other one I like is called Google Scholar. Okay, Google Scholar also has alert. This one is even worse. Every day they will send. What I do is I teach them. When I update my paper, I go open the latest one. So I find the paper to update. So that's the way. So here what will happen is you can set up multiple alerts. I also set up alerts to follow some box. By the time they publish a paper, they will send me a link. Like hair, regular, and paper they publish, they can send me. So this is the alert. This is how the set up. Sometimes they also add to the alert on certain authors they think is related to your topic. So what will happen is all these alerts, they will send you a link. Any paper published on a particular link. Okay, so you can actually open and see how many papers you have. This is your Google Scholar. See, I didn't know. I don't know person. This is the finance. They open the. They look at my citation. While citing my paper, that paper will be important to me as well. Because in my paper, they're also working on the same topic. So I also can get ideas quickly from the foundation is good example. So there may be some new development. Last week I had a this from China. I found one new paper. There are some new moderator. I didn't think about it. I actually gave that paper to the students. Said, if you want to revise your model with this new paper, it is more. That's how we work with this Google Scholar right now. So this is one alert. Then you see along this computer. So we can open and see what is behind the then. We see the scope here. So you can set up the alert if you want to. Next way of searching is by using this combination keyword, right? We have used it in Google Scholar. Instead of using one keyword, we can use and or and so on. So we can actually use, we can visit some websites like this. It's training how to use it. This is some example of how to use combination keyword. Let's say for definition, can use this. This keyword. And for theory, or find nice. Yes, we have skill culture means they only look at time. Skill text is your full paper. And if you put a PDF, they only show you papers in PDF. The rest will not be shown. So these are some of the ways you can narrow your search instead of searching behind. Yeah, then try out some of these keywords. Okay. After you download, you also organize them. These are ways you can organize. Can you repeat? The earlier ones and then the more recent. When I'm downloading the paper, you're like, you paper, then the text. All the time, very good. Right. Download. But never read. After a while, never read. You don't download, you feel very guilty, right? Every time I do, so I share the folder, right? Somebody requesting, can you share this paper? I think it's already in the folder. Just go and look at the folder. So these are the problem. So what you can do is after you download, you can do this summary. My business I tell them to do this. And then tell me about it. Yeah? So what happens is you have the author's name. Is it then you have a function called theory, you can see. So once you summarize this, you know what is the theory others have used the same topic. Okay. Then you have the type of analysis. Then I also like them to put in this construction. Research at the end of the research, they have to what is the suggestion. So we can look at it, decide what we want to add. All research. And next would be asked. Then you can see quickly what we are looking at. So if I want to write a paper, I can quickly look at them. Then from the data I already have. So this is actually one of I had a So I had a PhD student who was a fast track PhD student in UUM. He usually go and meet the supervisor and on the way she stopped and she like, I was not a co-supervisor, but she found me Facebook. And I said that and then after she finished, she didn't have a job. So I said, Grant, can you come and work under me? And the first thing she asked me was, how much will you pay? That's double one, right? That's double one. And I can pay you 3,000 a year. Say very low. I already have paid it. Okay. And so staying at home, the father not very happy. You already have a PhD, you have don't have a job. Then she messaged me, okay, I accept it. The town she came and then I said, okay, you summarize all this literature on green IT. So what we did was, first we summarized all together, then we started extracting from this file all the barriers to green IT. Then we will take on, so we can actually extract some folders like, okay, facilitator, theory, whatever. And then we can actually, so we write one paper, one title, all the barriers to green IT. We wrote 4 or 5 papers, and he was working with it. Next joined Sunday. That's how I started with Sunday. I would to the medic to appoint you as a judge. So I've been there for that. Every Monday. Now they're keeping me because of my headache. They want to see it, right? So there's one thing. But this is where living my contract. So this is very right. So this is how I did with that. So from the summary, you can actually work later. You can add on later, and then you see the changes in the this models, right? 2013. Remember, now you see the models have become bigger. They use different kinds of theory. For this kind of study, we have there is like non-activation. Same model they use even on the dependent level, the but the theory they use to explain this in the paper is different. Now they bring in environmental issues. With IT is the same environment. So they have theory of non-activation. Then you can bring in, and then some levels. That's how we can look at literature. Not right. Yeah. Very simple paper, but it can still publish in scholar. Ini terpanggil aja lah. This is another interesting way of summarizing your literature. I know this of Hamilton in class. I give them 10 papers. All 10 papers are related to the dependent level, right? And then what you do is you start from here, you see what they connect from this line to this line. And these numbers are actually literature. The literature. Okay? The literature is there for 1 to 44. People they download the literature. So it's sort levels 1 to 4. What I'm saying now is from here to here, this is the literature number 18, 19, 20, 21, 29. And you're writing this literature. You think everything should be other paper. This literature is other paper. And there are some related well studied. Some related not studied. And the here, the relationship is not consistent. Maybe you have some other related. Here, all these are consistent and have mediated. We get a picture from this one. Okay. So you can do this.
So we can use.
It's what again? Oh, you do the drawing. No. Many people ask me, do you have a software bottom line? Not what I do. I give them 10 paper. They sit in groups. This is the level. Then you sign. 10 papers play at so they are actually putting in a number here. They understand the specialty. These are the people they can use for section. For the section. So that's how I did for them. Okay. Then I have this pages for them from Northern. The one she did was she wanted to show how a model is contributing. She did one, she has a target. Then it's on the use some variable, this one the use some variable, you have all these variables, right? Okay. And what we say is many studies have used 2 variables, 3 variables, 4 variables, using so many variables. Cannot say I know. Very good, right? But it's not real last. Yes. But those 2, 3, 4, right? 3 so many, right? We cannot say anything. You understand? Yes, that's what it is. And she has a long list, it's not only here. And she also looked at the theory. She used a theory called system success model by Dillon and McLean. This one is all for
Chapter 2,
Because saying I use this theory, it's the many people do this theory.
until you give it. Yes.
So you can do that, right? And share along with you. She actually shared me the Excel file, huh? What she did.
Show how we is there.
There are some, a lot of there is,
It's actually like okay, three.
uh, you can decide the chapter one.
My supervisor.
So it is not about the number, but what you are trying to say is, from the review of the literature, these are the theories many people have. These are the variables people have studied. Now I'm evaluating some of the variables. So we can, this is another way. You actually have a spreadsheet link. You can see the spreadsheet, right? And then you can. This is a page for degree or preparing with the most on degree level, right? Additions, group or individual. These are the three levels, right? The group is when you study teams that work together. We call them virtual teams, right? One person is in India, another person in US, another person in Malaysia. You work virtually, but the performance is the team, not individual. We can do that. So the same variable like performance can be studied at the individual level, can be studied at the group level, can be studied at organization. Which one you are interested in, you base on your problem. See, many firms are closing down. Problem is the organizational problem. That's many project teams didn't work very well. The level of analysis is project. Some employees work very well, some employees don't work well. That's individual. So the same variable can be studied at different levels. That's why we have chapter one, right? It's the background. Why you understand it. Okay. This is another way of seeing your related. And there is one deep related. This is actually from the book called External Management Conduct. And the time stage what better to us, and the conduct stage, and the analysis stage, and also some this is from the general. This is a very good general. I've been trying this general for 35 years now. Actually, my PhD student published a paper here last. Factor not very high, but this is a very prestigious. Okay. Finally, I get help from my PhD student. Oh, you did that. I've been trying a long time. There's some journal I tried until now. I no longer. There's a journal called Government Information Portal. Yeah. From the time I joined until today, I don't have a paper. I've submitted many papers. Always get rejected. This is a this is the one I spent the day on writing the review. Highlight certain part of your contribution, right? Contribution. We can do it. Okay, references. I see many fields. There's some software available right now. Yeah. I actually don't need software. I'm actually a manual person. But I can everything. Then I can read outside myself. Understand that, huh? Can you please look at this? Huh? What number don't have, page number don't have, and get from also. I'm very useful with that. Huh? I just don't like it. The references are not complete. Okay, they were actually right. I think that it is not necessary. Many of them now have started using this. And because we have a license in the university, you can try any of them. The good thing about using software is you change the format, they can do it for you. You don't have to do manual. Like we do APA, right? In some journal they use Harvard or Chicago, right? Now you have to do everything manual. That's a challenge. If you don't use the so if you don't use the software, it's available in Google Scholar, right? So you find the paper, just click the stick. They will give you the format. Then we can copy from there. The Google Scholar, sometimes they are not possible. They don't have volume number issue now. From Google Scholar. So you can use this AI, this is citation generator. Anybody use this? Okay, you are really living in a alien planet. My undergraduate student use it. So somehow the literature you don't get, right? Here the good thing is you can also use the website. In the website, copy and paste the website, they will give you the citation. Only the article titles. So I just paste here the website, book, journal, video, whatever. Everything they have. They are already formatted for PA7 edition. Okay. So what I do is just here they will give you the reference with complete. So we can actually get directly from there. So the APA7 edition there's some changes. Now no more if you are citing a book, no need to put the city. You know? City no need, just the publisher. They change. And then the table number previously table 1. And then your title is italic, right? Table is bolded. No, second line is italic. The title is italic. Table 1 is bolded. Rest of the edition, there's some changes. We can study it. Okay. So next second. Animation. It's like video. Design partner. This is where we have design issues. Okay. So this is design section. We want to study section. We need to answer this research question. How do you conduct your research so that you will be able to answer this research question? You can do qualitative, you can do quantitative, you can do whatever. How you want to get there. Finally, you must answer this research question. The research design part is how do you carry out your research to answer the research question. This is where we are sampling. Okay, so for data collection, we have many ways of collecting the data. This is called monitoring. Monitoring is when you actually don't interact with the subject of your study. You just look at them or monitor them, observe them. So we have observation study, right? Like here we have books, right? How do you know a book is read a lot or not? You cannot ask the book, right? Yeah, right? Okay, so you look at condition of the book, or else in the library there's the RFID, right? Okay, you can see how many times borrowed out and so on, right? And then what is called you don't interact. This is when you interact with the actual subject or to ask, kind of doesn't have to be straight. We also have a term called self-administered questionnaire, right? To give them, but they are still communicating with them through the questionnaire. Okay? And now we have the issue of we have a cross-sectional and round plan. How many of you do this? Nobody has to do it. Tell them maybe you have to do the research. This is all going to okay. I can only say so much. But they always say, okay, others all don't do, None of the students in my department do this.
I think it usually has short term. Any certificate.
Okay, so that's why I give you some excuses. My limitation is so before you started, you already know, right? No, right lah. Correct. Many students like to do that. Hey, when you started, you already know, right? Original is better than conceptual. I say my limitation is I don't want to suffer, but future people suffer. Okay, so this is you collect everything at the same time. From the longitudinal, we have panel and cohort. Panel is when you study the same person over time. Okay? But cohort means you study the same group in different times. Let's say in 2015, you are studying people who are 40 years old. After 10 years, they may have moved, right? So you study people who are 50 years old. They are the same cohort. That's what meant by cohort. This one very difficult to do, longitudinal study. I'm not done. Our training was all cross-section, right? So this is November, this is also November, they are already gone. This is November, this is December, so we have some timeline, right? So then we have this degree of system. This one also I feel people have problem like this. We have different levels, we can study that. Individual group organization, artifact, we can. This is where we are adding. What is meant by dyadic relationship? You study the leader and the member. Okay. So, okay. Okay. The famous literature by Father and Ansari on leader member exchange. And most of us will do the individual group. Yeah. I'm going to say I want to individual. It's the explanation of the
Bro, can you go back just now social interaction, the member data in action. So how do the survey those two people? I mean, who of them have the answer? Is
Yeah, what of them must answer.
based on the organization or based on department?
Leader and the member. What you were rate it, you were rate. See the relationship. I've done this. We don't
We somebody study digital education. But they're doing contributional data.
We have the guy of Marcos Ansari. He was an expatriate lecturer in my department. Long time back. Quite over there. So in a while, he comes from IIT. Yeah? IIT is considered out of the East. And they say, no, cannot get into Harvard, cannot get into IIT. You can try out. That's how difficult it is. IIT. Yeah? They want 500 candidates, 150,000. They are usually 5% of the 5% of the 5%. Top 5%. Yeah. So he comes from the yeah. Yes, made for the US. And you will on a topic called leader member exchange. It's a literature called Bhatt and Ansari. Very famous. So they study these two as one fact. Right? Both must answer. Then only they will that's the unit of analysis. But most of us will do this individual group organization. That's why in finance different. They study different economy, different country, right? Different time. That's a different thing. We don't most of the time they're telling you one.
That means the GOP, if people study the member leadership change, that means if they use this the method of zero wrong or the
Yeah. Leader member exchange, already leader member exchange.
that is wrong, say.
You have to study this. Because dieting. Derek Kenny also works on this topic, dieting relationship, in the web. Okay, so problem is unit of analysis is, let's say we want to study this, we want to researcher wants to know the impact of top management support on firm performance. To get this we take 200 employees from an administrator. What will be the problem?
This is case study. Because you're saying the impact of top management. So is that the how many can I say this? And see.
This is only one company, so the model is like top management support and organizational performance. Unit of analysis is organization. You need 200 companies, not one company. Okay, not one company. This is the problem, and many people do this. And this.
Maknanya itu tuh menjadikan
Organization, right? So we must have many organizations. But I can also change the employee performance. Then I can study 200 in one, no problem. Yeah, this is individual. Can you see? Same problem, but at different levels. So, this is based on your number one. When you write about your, right, what is the problem you have there? Okay, next is the data issue. This is the one problem with in many institutions. We have single source, we have multiple source, we have and a single source is like data. And you have to study you have to study personality and employee. This is also rated by the employee. Questionnaire, this one, employer, this one also employer, right? Okay. You are an employee here, when you say your performance is no good. You will say, excellent. When I say it will be always there, right? This is what is causing the salt bite. Okay. So instead of quarantining from the same salt, right? You can do this. This is parental. Only this one is rated by the supervisor. Unit of analysis is still individual. Only the data supervisor. This data comes from the employee. The only problem with this is if the employee answer, supervisor don't answer, you need to throw it. If the supervisor answer, employee don't answer, you need to throw. And the other problem is the matching. You need to now start whether you are rating employee number one, you are rating employee number two, which is very difficult to do in organization. Okay? So this is one problem with month.
I say one supervisor got many
So he can rate 25 times if he wants to do. So they are rating different employees.
and the supervisor rate 25 times.
Yes. Since he has 25 employees, remember? So he can rate 25 employees, but you have to tell them the rating employee number one. If you don't do this, we can also do like this. This one is internal, using a plan. Which one you don't ask them. At the end of the year, you have an evaluation. Overall score. In your terms, we have a score. And sometimes I look at the Facebook. Alhamdulillah, I have 100 marks. Then I bit the pain here, but I never got 100. Never in my life. Yes, I'll be much more younger than me, they are getting. I like feel like a kid. Then you don't need to do anything anymore. I don't know what they do. They don't even understand performance rating. You understand? There's no way a person will get 100. We get 100, no need to work anymore. You already a perfect employee. Then they post in the Facebook, Alhamdulillah. And now 100 is mahal. I'm really disappointed. So I don't think. These guys just nothing out 100 already. It doesn't make sense. Because there are many categories. Remember, it cannot be lower marks, right? So this comes most of the time company go wrong. So this is what is meant by different sources of data. But most of our training is like in Malaysia, we only know to do this.
Can you just go back to Swedish system? Yeah, this one. So here, survey is mostly one section. So it looks really different ratio.
Then you need to solve
Purpose of individual.
You can also do this kind of thing for organization. Remember the result, you ask the company manager, performance you take from annual report. You can also do that.
Let's say you look about employee productivity versus the company. So if you are doing a survey on employee productivity, this one. And then the company performance say you describe for 5 years. Are you able to relate these two?
No, we can. There's another one called multi-level. What we are doing is not single level, remember?
Yeah.
Everything is employee, organization. But we can also study multi-level. But data collection is not. So this is one way of connecting data. We want about it. High performance goals. This is organization level. Well-being and job involvement is individual. This one we have only 50 companies. 50 companies. But here we have 451 employees. The numbers are not the same. This is level 1 organization. This is level 2. You can still do analysis like this. But what you need to do is you need to bring this aggregate. We have 10 employees from company 1, 5 employees company 2. Different companies have different number of employees responding to your message. You need to aggregate that. So one of the keywords is company, and you have company number 1 until company number 50, right? You need to know which employee comes from company 1, which employee comes from company 2.
So basically, what you're trying to say here is that the employee must be from
50 companies.
those companies.
So the data consider 50 or consider the employee.
We will aggregate them to this level. So we have this software called numerical linear model. This is the software that can do this kind of stuff. So what they do is they will aggregate this to the number. You need to only tell them that which employee comes from which company.
Certain topic.
Before you do aggregation, they have an agreement score, whether the scores of the employees agree or not. In this analysis. In data consistency. You need to run this analysis. That's RW. Okay, we have to run this analysis before we get in. In the field of the School of Management, only one student is.
Software again, HR.
Answer your student.
he was the supervisor, and then when he left, take over. He became the supervisor when he left. He did MBA also in my department. This is like, so that's one thing you need to do. National studies here, we have 33 teams. We have 229 individuals, right? But these 229 individuals belong to these 33 teams. We need to aggregate them to become 30.
So, campus life consider 33 or 2 33.
So this is team level, not team.
So, let me have to use run.
No, yeah. They can do this, the aggregation part. Actually, I attended the workshop. There's only two people in Malaysia who are in aggregation. One is called Awang Idris from the same layer. The lady is called Dr. Sharon from UMS. But Awang's workshop was not very good. I can understand what you're saying. There are some people who can write paper, but they cannot explain. They say, okay, are you okay? One person said, I'm not okay, I cannot understand what. Like, they had a workshop in Latin. Mehran Nejati was there. I don't understand what they're saying. Everything okay. Yeah? Then the instruction was shown by his today. How to click and all. So I attended, I couldn't understand. This is also available when you do multi-level. But what we will do is, we usually create this all for the individual. One level. Yeah. So that is multi-level. Then we also have the timeline. Okay, these variables are collected at time. Same time, these variables are collected same time. This variable was collected 1 month later. And this is not collected from the response. Because every time you log in into the server, right? How many times you log in, how long you watch the video. It's recorded by the system. But you must have an agreement with the service provider. Get this data. So the service provider will know, right? This respondent, how many times you log in, how long you want the video. This is today, this is 1 month later. Next time. Mediation, right? Not your last difference. 4,000 they will stand to 400 years to the 4,800, let's say. This 436, the one we got. The second state, you can only stand back to the 436. Now the 436 is dropped to 330. Some people leave, right? Out of the 436, only 330 reply. But in the third state, you can only stand to this 330. Okay, so now it goes down to 275. From 400, your complete sample is only 200 samples. This is the problem with type 1, type 2, type 3. And the same person must answer 1, 2, and before they are complete. You will have no data. Very difficult, huh? And not even they use flat answer, and reply they are problem. Not easy, yeah. But if you are working with a platform, they can tell that you must answer 3 times before we pay you. Then they are forced to answer. Okay. This is data project. The model, your model. This is the model you draw into the numbers. But the data is collected time 1, time 2, time 3. That's where data collection design. We have done this, huh? I'm going to do the one. From this data, you want to publish your data. These are the kind of email you will get. This is called human performance. From China to submit the data. You attend
That's a directional mediation model. So this is process.
This is one of the experience smiling. I get this a lot. Really like this, right? Meditation, we quite all at the same time, right? This is the comment I'm getting from manager. Right? Same with this one. So this is where you need to be, you will, some problems already for a long time, huh? Because we don't submit to the higher level, then we don't get challenged like this. When you put journals with question they will ask, cross-sectional meditation. I'm getting this a lot. Okay. Then people will ask me question. This level okay, it's not okay, but I don't answer that. Everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's still, the examiners are still okay, right? Hopefully they don't change.
Because student adopted.
Depends on it, lower level, high level. Many of the journals still accept what's there. This is data collection. The model is still development of model yesterday. Now we are moving to how you collect the data. Whether you have sectional, longitudinal, multi-level, single level, multi-level. Single level, multi-level, I was struggling for a long time. So nobody can explain clearly. I'm not seen anybody doing multi-level in my department. None. Zero. Everybody on same level. But you can still do code level, right? Okay. So this is again that's what you see that. Usually when I talk to the student, they understand like this level, like this level, and this level at the same time. You cannot do this. The intention and actual cannot be connected at the same time. You will do it. Then you see, oh, theory was developed qualitatively. Theory was developed qualitatively. So they can tell you this level, this level, this level. But logically, if you are already doing this, how do you rate this? Because this was like before. Intention. Like intention to use mobile wallet, right? Intention to use mobile wallet for 5 years ago, before the pandemic, right? Now I'm using every day, right? I can answer it, but I don't know. Right? But I still was think like, then you run analysis every bad time, right? It doesn't make sense. Many journals don't accept this anymore.
From the or cross-sectional,
If you want to do this, you can, but you go like what they go to a company, before the system is implemented, they ask them the date. And then after 1 month, they ask how much you use. Because I want to do it. Or else you say, just not show you the example, right? If your problem is nobody is using yet, then you will sell it. So you decide. But the theory is still complete. The skill is still complete. They are not going to test this. Because the literature already does it for lead to this.
You say that the theory is still completely to have the.
No, you are saying the literature already tells you this. So happening. So I'm not going to test it because like that. Nobody will reply it, right? Comply, right? And if they are not using the system, you say it will be zero.
I mean, first I thought this wasn't good. Seven is cheating.
I was doing internet vaccine 20 years ago, right? And there was internet use, but it was already available. Many people don't use. But today everybody is using, right? So I should not be asking intention anymore. I should ask how much you use. Do you intend to continue this? So that's how you decide on the dependent. This is the paper that use the same theory, right? Then, but they didn't say it, and they are not connecting this, but theory already tells you. You can actually show with the literature that, but I'm not going to test. Okay. And,
Just now it's like cancel this. The right,
next is the single source line, right? Okay. Since most of you are using single source, right? How do you address this problem for source line? This is one of my points from this master. This is to working and instruction. This is one that we define. This is one the development. Learning and instruction usually does not publish papers that solely rely on a single application of a self-report method, especially when other measurements were feasible and more triangulation with other measurements and different. So, thank you very much. But it's okay. This is what the problem of the problem of single source. What we can do is we can look at this element. This is a paper that you can read. This guy from Korsakov has been writing about this issue since 1986. Okay. The first paper was 1986. The second paper was 2003. The third paper was 2012. And now in 2024, he has the same paper. Now the paper is extended. So it becomes longer and longer because we only just read a shorter one, right? So we have to write a longer one so that you So what do you say? You have two issues. One is called procedural remedy, the other one is called statistical remedy. Statistical remedy is what you do after collecting the data. After collecting the data. Procedural remedy is what you do before you collect the data. Okay? When you this was the question somebody asked. I get this question a lot in my Facebook page. Middle of the night also they will say, yeah, I have this problem, I have that problem. This and then they will say, this is the and this is the possibility that the variable is 1 to 6, and then my other variable is 1 to 7. And I use this to be done. Okay. And sometimes I wonder whether the person doing this question actually understand what the answer is. This is management level, right? At management level. Software doesn't matter. Software need to understand what is it. So if you have the scale design, percentage of useful and if you measure them with the same scale, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, or you have 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and 1 to 7. Different scale or the same scale.
Brazil.
Yeah. Same scale, like most of the same scale. The training lab. So I do all that. Use the same scale for everything. That's not a good strategy. Yeah? That's a very bad strategy. Yeah? You should not have the same scale throughout. You should not have, because if you have the same scale throughout, the responder already have a mental map. One is low, 5 is high, 3 is middle. They will answer consistently because of your scale. Not like that. But don't change the scale to often 5.6, 6.7, 0.5, 6.7, then the respondent become very confused. So what is suggested is that this of independent variable, you use a different scale. Your dependent variable use a different scale. But you show them a 5-point scale, right? They answer all, and now you show them a 7-point scale. They need to adjust here, remember? Previously, 1 low, 3 middle, 5 high, right? 1 is low, 4 is middle, 7 is. Then the pattern will be broken. That's the reason why they have to ask. They ask to use this different scale. This you can do quickly, personal design. Okay. Another strategy many journalists suggest is you have reverse coded item. Some questions are positive, some questions are negative. I would not recommend you to do that. Because what will happen is all your negative questions, you will end up deleting from your lineup. All. I can tell you now. I know this is my line. I can tell you. The way we respond to positive with the question and the way we respond to negative is not the same. Especially in many of the cultures. Like, you know, they don't like you, they don't like to go away. Yeah? Like, let's say you go through that. Like, you want we have a lecture lately, like at the end of the semester. You do that. So, evaluation, like that. So I say the common for 7 days. Some many of my students will stop by and office to check. And they will tell me this lecture is hopeless, that lecture is hopeless. But when they fill up the questionnaire, all the 5, 3, 1, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4. So the head auditor cannot do it. Qualitative paper, quantitative paper. You think that? I see that's not. They cannot do anything, right? Because your quantitative rating, everything very good. But qualitative is just the lecture is right? See a contrast, right? That's the problem with this kind of scale in analysis. So positive means they will answer why, right? Negative, they will not answer why. Even if you reverse code, they are not the same. So you should not use negative worded question in a question. Should not use all positive or all negative. Like you are measuring anxiety, right? All should be negative. You are measuring each of it, all should be. That's how you decide that.
Okay, skill perspective, skill or learn of
Okay. Usually in your scale, you have this picture, right? This kind of notation you see. And the sign R. Okay, that's design indication, then I have this labels for that. The scale. Oh, item one item R, right? And then this item you will have a direct obligation. But what you can do is before you collect your data, you reverse code the item. If the question is the system is difficult to use, I change it to the system is easy. Then all of that are different.
yeah, so what I'm saying, your mother is using global as a skill.
Okay, this is the question. Most of the authors, they develop the item. The skill is a choice. They want to define to manage it. We call them item category. You must use the parameter. But the scale you get is 5.6, 6.7. And that's already literature saying that you should use 5.6 points or 7 points. You have from 4 points to 11 points. I have used 11, 0 to 10. But when the scale becomes longer, people cannot visualize. In molecular, they clarify 6 or 7. Real 12. So you can decide any of the things. The scale point can be decided. The only time you cannot change the scale point is if the measurement has a scoring system. After you collect the data, they have a scoring system. 0 to 25 is low. 25 to 50 is medium. 51 to 75 high. Then you have to follow the scoring system. Then you cannot change the things. Other than that, the scale is up. The items are the one we call them item value. Yeah. With certificate. Okay, for those who are doing this, so this is a paper we wrote in journal called Total Quality Management Research Excellence. You see, we're talking about this called pipeline. They have come to do a method called Harman single factor test, which I was sitting manager. This method no longer acceptable anymore, and it should not be doing that. But this is a problem of the single crop data. We see this paper. This was one of our DBA students who submitted the paper to the Journal of International Management. And this guy also microdynamics. After 1 year, he got device and he was very happy. And he revised all the comments and resubmitted. And then the editor started reading. The editor didn't read the paper original. Then the editor wrote, I see two additional issues that reviewers or I may not have detected. So he's telling you, I'm sorry, I didn't read your paper. That's what I say. Then he said, first, given the nature of the topic, this paper is mentioned suited in application in international marketing. Hello. It took 1 year to review my paper and you still revise and submit. Now you're saying not suitable to the suggestion. That's what they say, right? And second, here's my careful review. This is to believe that this actually does not meet the ANS application threshold as the rate of example from common methods, some common bias. Both dependent and independent papers were responded to by the same response. That's the only reason it does reject. And then he gives you a suggestion now. If you may, this is now a serious flaw in management research. It's not enough. So it's very paper to marketing. But this guy is good, huh? Because he gives you an alternative. He gives you an alternative. He says, if you want to do this, because most of the studies, when we measure performance, we ask satisfaction, we ROI, ROI. This is a technique, right? What he's saying is maybe you can collect also objective data, see the correlation. That is called external validation. That's nearly possible to do with SMAs. So we don't have published report, right? But we give you the second option. Or satisfactorily justify the self-performance bias if the use of subjective measures was minimal or non-existent. This is what is meant by justifying there is no bias. Before you collect your data, okay, you must find a variable of the mark. So we have this common method here. So we have two types of one is the mark square. In the population, other people study, when they study job satisfaction organization commitment, they have R square 50%. In yours, R square 60%. Three times here, right? Because you collect the independent and dependent members from the same person. This may be the reason why the R square is higher. This is called common method bias. Second one is called common method bias. Common method bias is in the population, when other people study job satisfaction and commitment, their data values are 0.25. But when you collect the data, you get data value of 0.5. This is what is meant by bias. This is half, right? This is 2 times higher, because the same person responded to the independent evidence. This is what is called the bias of application. You need to address it. You need to address this issue. So this common signal factor test they have already been designed. And the fact was this is a paper. This is a paper by this author called Andre. They have already criticized it. So you should stop using that. Based on this paper by Linda Winnie, they suggested to have a marker variable, an additional variable, not part of your function. You need to collect that medium first. To collect that medium there. What you are told is this is the model I want to test. I also collect other marker variable. This variable also answered by the same response. And this marker variable is theoretically unrelated to the variable. Okay, for example, I want to say that's not it. After available like present for us, do you like the color blue? Okay. Color blue should not affect your effect. Should not. Sometimes it can happen because the respondent think this is also part of the model. The answer can be this is what we are trying to show. This variable should not be taken. This theoretically related. This is not significant. How we can say there is no bias. What we need is addition there.
Contrast is
Because we are saying now we are controlling and your control level.
This is the chapter 3.
Chapter 3. When you write, you have to write in chapter 3. But when you run in chapter 4.
So regardless of this is very
So this test is very good for those people to do because it is biased or not. Also, we can still run with the help. We have another method they have developed for those who don't have the marker available in their study. We have another method. But if you get into trouble, cannot stop your process. And this one, you will ask it, right? It is biased. Now I'm already controlling my life. How we will do this like this is the item. This here they written clearly. First we select the item, then the sales away, and how we do that on the method. This is the source. Can I add that? Why I show this is every time I do, they will ask, how do you do this? So they should be so that right. They want to temper, they want to show step by step, then we can understand them. This one must be in your question. One section in your question. Not necessarily three items. It can be 4 items, 5 items, different variables. I'm only showing you one example. The variables are here, right? Here. One scale. These are some of the variables they have used. So I will run this first, and then we will run this one, right? You get a data manager, get an arm square here, right? And this is without the marker variable. Now what we will do is we will point the marker variable now and see what happens to your data and ask. This should not change very much. Okay. When we run the analysis, okay, now this is upside dividend 26.5%. Very little change, right? Little bit very significant, still significant. So now I can safely say that like this is what we are supposed to do for those who have single sorting. So that there is no bias.
so the question then is that you include the marker.
No,
Your question.
it's not really right. But when you're drawing a model, it's not part of it. So that's why we look at it. In terms of letter, but they're not included in the model data. So this is what you can do for those who have single topics. Most of my students will have, you like it or not. I will not let you collect data without. Just in case somebody asks, right? Most examiners don't ask. My student put this variable and then the examiner. Yeah, they ask me, what is the variable for? Now, there are different tasks. I'm saying, some of the, how come you have this variable?
Yeah.
They are not simply but students are very better, like, they don't want to do it. This is a standard way of it. And the variables, like I already showed you, right? These are some examples of marker variable other schedules in different areas, like psychology and so on. But I found one paper which then you can use this paper. This is a paper by Emil Simaringer. They have run a simulation with this variable on attitude to the towards the color blue. That means you can use for any area. Okay. They started with 7 items already in the paper. But they have a recent paper, they have run simulation. You don't have to use 7 of them. You can use any combination of the idea. 3 item, 4 item, 6 item, 7 item. All these combination goes into the paper. So I can use 2 items.
Are we just
All doji. This committee is also pointed. This is okay, for those already collected data, what we will do is we follow Ninjaya. He developed a method called full collinearity. So what we will do is we will create a random number. All the variables you will get again is as long as the VI is not more than 5, then you can also argue there's no bias. And this one you don't have to collect additionally. Many journals don't like this. This one is called post hoc. You didn't plan for it. You are now doing it post hoc. So you can decide that. And my old paper I use It's already correct.
VIP, is that construct one or construct?
Yeah, I understand. This one sum.
It's in the BIM. Spiritual. Spiritual.
No. Actually, most people use five. But we actually wondering, but there's a recent paper by Laptop in 2024, it's a plan of
From some paper, there's something. KIC,
that one, they want to make the paper longer. Because, the problem is a measure, the IF will be very high. So that's supposed to be, the IF is only important if the measures are formative. But I don't know, usually for effective measures, you don't have to for the IF, only for formative. Okay, because here for menstrual,
Participants, so we just have break for 1 hour.
I never said no, no. We are competing.
So, thanks. Maybe to do here, but it's not that way. But I don't know how it looks. How it works.
One was, we need to say that. So, you want to do this because, start, yeah.
Very in about 1 time, 2 o'clock or 1 what's the better meeting. And find what's the recording. And well, it's okay. We use it. It's okay. Don't worry. I just did that. See, I'm not more about.
So, it's 1 hour. Yeah, the rest of the break is 1 hour. 1:45 lah, 1:45. Thanks,
You want to get the source that will
Honestly,